J.J Jepira from 8th grade at FRATER Junior High School, and today I'm gonna do some storytelling about the story of the Little Red Riding Hood. Hello, nice to meet you all. I hope you enjoy my story.
Once upon a time there was a little girl who wore a red hood that was given by her grandmother, and she loves it so much that she always wears it wherever she goes, and thus the name the Little Red Riding Hood was born. One day her mother called the Little Red Riding Hood. "Dear, Grandma has fallen sick. Could you bring this basket to her?" Then the Little Red Riding Hood replied, "Of course, Mother, I would love to." And then she puts on her red hood and starts her journey to her grandmother's house. But before she gets too far, her mother cautioned her. "Dear, don't stray away from the path and be careful. Don't talk to strangers either." "Yes, Mother, I will be careful," she says. And then she continues her journey to her grandmother's house. But suddenly, she looks at the ground and there's a beautiful white flower. She thought to herself, "Grandma would love this," as she picks a few of the flowers. But suddenly, there was a big bad wolf lurking from a tree and slowly but surely approaching her. He said to her, My dear, what do we have here? Could you tell me where you're going?" The big bad wolf said, with the friendliest tone he could muster. And then the Little Red Riding Hood replied, "I am going to Grandma's house, down this path." And then the wolf replied, My, what a good girl you are. Go ahead, I won't bother you any longer." And the Little Red Riding Hood said, "Okay, thank you, mister. Bye-bye." And then she continued her journey to her grandmother's house. But what we didn't know, that the big bad wolf took a shortcut to Grandma's house. And of course, he arrived earlier than the Little Red Riding Hood. He knocked on the door, and the Little Red Riding Hood's grandmother answered as she opened the door, "If it isn't my lovely granddaughter, do come in." But as she opened the door, the wolf barged in and ate the grandmother in one gulp. Soon after, the Little Red Riding Hood arrives at the cottage. She knocked, but no answer. She knocked again and said, "Grandma, are you in there?" And then the wolf, dressing or disguising as the grandmother, said, "Yes, darling, do come in." And the Little Red Riding Hood opened the door, but sees her grandmother that she barely recognized at all. Then she asked her grandmother, "Grandma, why your voice sounds so weird?" Then the wolf replied, "Yes, darling, I just got a cold," he said, adding a cough to prove his point. And then the Little Red Riding Hood walked closer to the bed that the wolf lays in. She walked closer and noticed the big ears that her grandmother has, and she asked again, "Grandma, what big ears you have." And then the wolf replied, "Yes, my darling, it's better to hear you." Then the Little Red Riding Hood walked closer again and sees the big eyes the wolf had, or maybe her grandmother had. And the wolf replied again, "The better to see you, my darling." And the Little Red Riding Hood walks closer, as close as needs me to the bed, and notice the big teeth the wolf had, or her grandmother had. At this point, the Little Red Riding Hood just looks skeptical, but she still asks her grandmother why she has the big teeth. "Grandma, why you have such a big teeth?" Then the wolf stays silent for a while. The silentness, the quietness makes the Little Red Riding Hood walks back a bit. But before she has the chance to go and run, the wolf jolts out of the bed and said, "The better to eat you, my darling," as she chased the poor girl. But lucky her, the wolf wears a dress, and he trips on the dress and falls on the floor and groaning in pain. Rah! And of course the Red Riding Hood catches the chance to escape, and she runs out of the cottage and shouts, "Help! Help! There's a big bad wolf chasing me!" And lucky her, there was a nice woodsman that heard her and ran to the cottage to find the big wolf chasing this poor little girl. And of course, the nice woodsman punched the wolf at the gut, and the wolf spits out her grandmother in one piece. And of course, the wolf fell unconscious. And as the wolf fell unconscious, the nice woodsman dragged him onto the forest where he could not bother anyone or anybody anymore. The Little Red Riding Hood then ran to her grandmother, sobbing and crying, and she said, "I'm sorry, grandmother, I'm sorry," over and over again. And as the Little Red Riding Hood calmed down, her grandmother said, "It's okay, my darling. Humans make mistakes sometimes. There's no human that is perfect. We make mistakes, but sometimes we learn from that mistakes, and we learn a bunch of lessons from that. And I hope you learn your lesson for today, darling." And they hug each other and ate the basket of food that the Little Red Riding Hood's mother gave. And thus, the story ends. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening. Peace out.
Hello, I really hope you enjoyed the story. And the moral. For the moral, I have 3 morals. One is do not talk to strangers, especially for kids. Not saying that all strangers are bad or anything, but not all strangers are good either. So be conscious. Second is to always hear your parents, hear their advice, hear their conscience. And the last one is to always have courage in yourself. I hope we all learn from the Little Red Riding Hood to not stay still and to always have courage and never give up. And I really hope we all learn from this lesson. Thank you for watching, and bye bye.